Welcome back to the Trying to Get Jack podcast, guys. We have a fun guest here, full of knowledge today. Dr. DP Singh, as he likes to go by, or even Dr. Aroga Singh, right? I know you will share your Instagram and everything in the bio, and we'll just put like an overlay here or whatnot. But I'll just give a quick little intro on my end. And I had literally a brief conversation with you at Aroga, right? And literally that one segment of like 30 minutes, I was just so curious. There's so many things that were just flowing, and I just asked one question, the knowledge you just had, which is awesome, right? Because sometimes what happens is people don't share their knowledge for some reason, right? I don't know why there's scarcity on that end, but you were just dropping all these nuggets, and it came from like a genuine place, right? When you every time you said anything, I was like, that's a hook for like content purposes, because like there was so much passion behind everything, right? So I just had a little intro, and obviously just that little 10, 20, 30 minutes made quite an impression on me. So I think you'll have a greater impact on people that are obviously listening here. And I'll let you do a little intro, but for that intro itself, like, tell us how you got into what you do now, and then Aroga itself, and then why you do what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a practicing internal medicine specialist. I've been practicing for about 15 some odd years. I did my training in the States. I grew up in San Francisco, California, moved to Toronto in around 2012. I've been practicing at North York General Hospital here in the Greater Toronto area. So I've had the privilege of, teaching residents, the University of Toronto residents that are the new doctors coming. And when you work in internal medicine, it's adult medicine, and we treat everything. We're medical detectives, and we pretty much have a good grasp of disease, right? So we're trained in every organ system in the body. So anything from brain, spinal cord, to the heart, to the liver, to the lungs, to the kidneys. And so a lot of times when physicians or family doctors or if something's getting a little bit complicated, they'll send the patient to us. So we try to figure it out. But the bottom line is, I think, the stuff we've learned in medical school, these rare types of illnesses, certain infections and things like that, you start to realize after, 15 years of working that everyone's dying from the same thing, right?
Okay. Well,
A lot of your training med school is like, yeah, okay, the zebra condition, like, oh, but if you look at what majority of North Americans and now around the world, because of globalization, people are dying of heart attack, stroke, Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, diabetes.
yeah,
There's actually nothing complicated about this. And all of these conditions are not only preventable, but if you have them, they're actually reversible through
yeah,
basic changes in what you're eating, how are you sleeping, how are you moving, how are you managing your stress,
yeah,
right? So after 15 years of, a patient rolls in, oh, yes, you're having a heart attack. Here's your aspirin. Here's your Plavix. Here's your cholesterol medication. I'm going to refer you to a cardiologist. Cardiologist is going to put a stent in the blood vessel. They're going to crack open your chest. You're going to get a bypass. You know,
mm,
it's mechanical work after a
yeah,
while, right?
100%.
Or yeah, sorry, dementia, there's no memory. Patients now can't walk for themselves. They can't swallow. They have no throat, they're hallucinating, or a new diagnosis of cancer. And then you start to realize that, okay, I'm working so hard, I'm doing all these overnight shifts, and I put all this training into, but my patients really aren't getting any better, right? And I'm putting bandages on my patients. That's basically all I'm doing.
Yeah,
When we give medications for majority of these conditions, they don't cure the illness, they don't reverse the illness, right? And and then you have 100 years of medical literature that's been published on food, sleep, exercise, avoiding alcohol, tobacco,
yeah,
managing your stress, and living a good social life without any emotional isolation,
yeah,
on how, if you do these things, you can actually, the numbers will follow. You'll lose weight, your diabetes will get better, your fatty liver will get better, your memory will get better, right? And it's all through lifestyle changes, um, but no one's doing it. And so,
So let me so for example, like there's a lot of good points you already touched on, and I want to kind of take a layer back. What made you be like, I know one of the obvious signs here is like I keep getting the same patient with the same problem, and then I'm keep putting a band-aid on this, so I want to find a solution to this, right? Obviously,
yeah.
that's one of the triggers. Was there anything else that made you be like, okay, I gotta, there has to be some other way of doing this rather than this constant method, right? Was there something else that made you be like, okay, I have to take this other approach, or because obviously with the Aroga and stuff like
So
that, yeah,
so I guess what you're asking is what was
yeah,
my turning point in
yeah.
the.
What was your turning point? Yeah,
So I had reached a point in my career where, 15 years of doing this, and not feeling I'm making any change, but like internally, I know that, this patient just needs to eat better or sleep
yeah,
better, and they can, but I don't have the time to teach him this. I don't have the support system to do this. And I had reached a point in my career where, everything's just kind of getting a little bit monotonous, right? And I needed, and it just fate just happened to be that the founder of Aroga, which we'll get into, our lifestyle medicine clinic, who was also a practicing internal medicine doc here in the Greater Toronto area,
yeah,
he knew me through the community. I do Keith, I played tabla, so he knew me from far away. And then when he found out I was, internal medicine specialist, he reached out. He said, "I need a
yeah.
leader. I'm looking for a leader in the Ontario area." And then, one thing kind of led to another. And then, he told me about lifestyle medicine. All right. And then I started reading up on it. And I said, oh my God, right? Like this
Great.
is exactly this is the solution
Yeah,
to the whole healthcare crisis
yeah,
is lifestyle medicine. And I, even though I internally believed in these things, the current system doesn't allow you to practice it, right? Like
yeah,
a family doctor is not going to sit and talk to a patient about food for 15 minutes. If they spend 5 minutes with you, you're lucky, right?
yeah,
Um, and I was, already looking for a platform where I could practice something like this. And, Aroga just happens to be, the revolutionary part about what we're doing with Aroga is we've figured out the model of delivery of these 6 pillars to the patient. And so more,
yeah.
and I was like, oh, where do you need me to sign up? This is exactly what I'm looking for, right?
Awesome.
And then one thing led to another, and now I've been kind of doing this for the last 3.5 years. We set up a clinic, and Brampton, being the most underserved community, if you look at population quota wise, like to me, it was a beautiful thing that we opened up the clinic in the Brampton area,
Yeah.
really serve our community, but we serve all of Ontario. So that's kind of where it led to,
Okay.
to there. And I've realized that, doing this for the last 3 or 4, years, like, my patients are actually getting better, and I'm giving them opportunity to come off of medications, right? So I've kind of nicknamed this happy medicine because my patients come back happy,
That's
come back
awesome. Yeah,
happy when the changes are
yeah,
made. All of a sudden, their blood pressure getting better, and I'm probably one of the only doctors that's willing to say, "Hey, let's try to take you off these medications,"
yeah.
right? And
I think,
so it's so rewarding. It's the most rewarding medicine I've ever practiced, right? Because my patients are happy, right?
yeah. And that should be the main intention, right? Any patient coming in is like to help them.
Yeah.
So that is now what's happening. So that's a practical application wise, right? So I know you've mentioned the 6 pillars a few times. I think nutrition being one of the biggest things in our culture, right? Diet wise in general, and people always have diet questions. I know for a fact every time I like post diet, anything related content, it always does well because everything people are looking for shortcuts when it comes to diet, or they're trying to find like the easiest way of like fat loss. Online, you see quick hacks or like 3 tips for weight loss. And it's like cut your carbs, or like only eat meat, only carnivore, because that's how you get your protein in. And online, the perception is carbs are bad for you, right? And then you can only get protein through meat sources, right? And you have to maybe do some sort of fasting to get some sort of weight loss results, right? These are just the common things. And people listening, they probably have tried all 3 things along with skipping breakfast. Those are the 4 common things you'd always hear a person going through something. It's like, I skip breakfast, I try fasting, and then I'll have some like binging at night because I crave things, and then I cut out carbs because I'm trying to lose weight, right? So, based on obviously your knowledge, and I see these things all the time to people, I'm like, hey, understand you can have a balanced approach to diet, limit your processed foods. But coming from someone who's most credible, right? What would you say, like, for that nutrition pillar? What are some steps that you recommend your patients to start, implementing right away in their diet that they
Sure.
can start seeing some benefits?
So when it comes to diet,
Yeah.
so the first question really is, what is your goal,
Okay. Say
right?
for yeah.
So
Yeah.
my goal with my patients is I'm trying to, we're doing longevity medicine.
There you go.
Okay?
Okay.
So we're trying to get our patients into the ninth, 10th decade of life without memory problems, without heart attack, without
Yeah.
stroke,
Yeah.
without cancer. Okay.
Okay.
So if our goal is longevity and living a long, healthy life, then the whole food, completely plant-based diet is the way to go. And
Okay.
and this is the one with the most evidence behind it for reversal of disease. I mean, like you spend a day with me in the clinic and
Yeah.
you see all these diabetics getting better, patients who are obese, they're getting better, their fatty liver, the liver tests are getting better. I'm taking them off of insulin shots and everything simply by getting them to eat first whole foods. Whole foods are real food,
Okay.
unprocessed food, right? And second, 95% plant-based, right?
Okay.
So, that's the diet that will melt off the fat. That's the diet that will decrease inflammation in your body. Okay. And that's the diet that's been published in the medical literature. Okay. And so in our medical literature, we have trials, the only diet that has been shown to um, um, reverse plaque in the blood vessels in the heart, right? When you develop clotting in your heart, or what we call atherosclerosis, is a
Okay.
whole food plant-based diet. We've Dr.
Okay.
Esselstyn, you can read his book, Preventing and Reversing Heart Disease.
Yeah.
He wrote that book. He's from Cleveland Clinic, one of the most respected cardiology clinics in the world.
Yeah.
Dr. Dean Ornish published a study in the JAMA in the 1990s, where he put patients on the whole food plant-based diet, and he showed reversal of plaque in the artery. The only
Okay.
diet to show um, 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 reversal of Alzheimer's cognitive scores and biomarkers, it's never been shown. Like the pharmaceutical industry has been spending millions of dollars trying to come up with a miraculous drug for Alzheimer's
Yeah.
disease. But
Yeah.
recently, Dr. Ornish, published it in the Alzheimer's Journal. CNN was all over it. Dr. Sanjay Gupta was all over it. You could look it up, right? Where he had already established patients who had Alzheimer's dementia, and he put them on the 6 pillars: whole food, plant-based diet, 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, 150 minutes of exercise, right? Avoidance of alcohol, tobacco, psychosocial support, daily meditation. And he showed that the more the patients adhered to this, the better their memory got, their cognitive scores got, and even some biomarkers of Alzheimer's got better. This is the only study to ever show this, right? So I could go on and on. He
Yeah.
published a study in a urology journal where he took men with low-grade prostate cancer. He had MRI scans of the prostate cancer before, and then he put them. The control group essentially didn't make any lifestyle changes. They just watched and waited. But his experimental group did the 6 pillars. He put them on a whole food plant-based diet. And within 6 months to a year, he did repeat MRI scans, and he showed this cancer literally in front of your eyes. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
Yeah.
The cancer just shrunk without any radiation, without chemotherapy, right?
Yeah.
And then he looked at the genetics, and he saw that the cancer promoting genes were turned off, right?
Mm.
So if we're talking about disease reversal, disease prevention, and longevity, then it's the whole food plant-based diet. And the literature shows it. And then
Yeah.
you just come to a clinic and you see how many people, reverse the disease with this. Now, if you want to build muscle, right? So you could still build muscle by being whole food plant-based, right?
Okay.
So it all depends, right? Like it depends what our overall goal is, right?
100%. I think longevity is always going to be one of the pillars. Like when even like a client comes, or even if they're like a 25, 26 year old, 30-year-old man, like one of their main goals is like, I want to live long, a healthy life, joint pain, low inflammation, like make sure I play with my kids, be healthy for them. So I think
Yeah.
longevity is probably at the top. And
Yeah.
maybe if someone's like younger, they're trying to, get jacked per se, right? Put on muscle. Sometimes they don't think about the longevity game, but back in their mind, they know longevity is the name of the game if
Yeah.
everyone's kind of aiming for that. I think one of the biggest things because obviously in my audience, they'll be a little bit younger where maybe they're not going through some sort of diseases per se, but they may have parents or grandparents that might be going through some stuff, which is obviously implementing these things really important. But I think what clicked to me right away was like, hey, just because these things are not happening to you, right?
Yeah.
You can prevent all these things, and that's what you're mentioning, preventative medicine, right?
Yeah.
So these are 7 pillars that a lot of like younger people sometimes they know. Okay, I should sleep more. I should meditate. I should spend time with my family, friends. Have some gratitude and eat healthy, eat whole foods. But they're like, I don't need it yet. Well, the people who are going through diseases, they have no option. So when they
Yeah.
implement it, they see the benefit from it, right? But someone
Yeah.
listening, just for them, it's like understand your life can improve significantly by just implementing these things as well, right?
No, for sure. I mean,
Right?
plaque starts in your blood vessels when you're 15, 16 years old.
Wow. Okay.
You've had autopsies of teenagers who have died, and you
Okay.
rip open their blood vessels, you see fatty streaks in it. So coronary artery disease
Wow.
and sclerosis starts at 15, 16. This is something that takes decades and decades to build in your system. And then, when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, that's when the bell rings, right? Like that's when something happens, right? And then we think, oh, it just happened now. No, no, no. This process started when you were 15,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Compounding, right? Compounding interest in the wrong direction, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
right. I think the second question you had was, about the protein, right?
Yeah.
Just to take a step back, by the way, like why I really clicked with the work you were doing is very, very powerful because I realized more and more that muscle mass is so important. And we know that when it comes to longevity and health span, the more muscle mass you have as you age, you have a longer health span. What is the difference between health span and lifespan? Well, lifespan is, how long do you live? When your heart stops, you croak, you're done, right? Health span is how long can you live healthy, right? So the goal isn't to make it to 100. If you make it to 100 and you spent the last 10 years of your life with no memory in a diaper in a nursing home, there's no point, right? But the question is, can you make it to 100 and still be able to walk up a hill, walk your dog, recognize your great grandchildren, pick them up, right? Play a musical instrument. That's different. That's health span, right?
Yeah.
And what gets us as we age is frailty, right?
Mm.
So, we fall down the stairs, we crack our hip, boom, our
Yeah.
mortality goes up 30%. A woman, when
Yeah.
a woman cracks her hip and breaks her hip, in the age of 80, like it's 30, 40%
Done.
mortality. It's a very, very high number, right? Or you get a big pneumonia, you end up in a hospital for a month, or if you get, God forbid, diagnosed with cancer, and you're frail, your chances aren't that good. But if you have muscle mass, if you have good muscle mass, there's more likely that you're going to survive that pneumonia, right?
Yeah.
It's less likely you're going to fall down the stairs and crack your hip, right? And we know patients who get chemotherapy for cancer, the patients who have good muscle mass in their chemo, their physical status, we have something called the ECOG score, which tells us
Okay.
how physically fit they are before they enter chemo. They do much better with it, right?
Wow.
So
Okay.
muscle is extremely important, and you need protein to build that muscle, right?
Okay.
Well, I mean, very simple formula. You need resistance to the muscle group 2 to 3 times a week. You know more about this than I do,
No, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
but 2 to 3 times a week, and you need to have enough protein floating around so you can build that muscle, right?
Yeah.
The average plant-based eater still
Yeah.
gets 70 grams of protein a day.
70 grams per. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Can you give me like so when you said whole foods, real whole foods, and then even protein sources, what would be some options for like meals or like
Yeah.
food choices?
So tofu.
Okay.
Tofu is it's made out of soy, right?
Okay.
So soy milk, right? Soy milk is high in protein, right? Tofu is very high in protein.
Okay.
Broccoli is very, very high in protein. Okay.
Okay.
Wild rice, brown rice, quinoa.
Okay.
This has a lot of protein. Just one handful of pistachios has 16, 17 grams of proteins. So nuts and seeds,
Wow.
right? So this goes into the whole food diet aspect of things, has protein, right? Spinach, like sag in our community, we sag that has protein, right?
Yeah.
But you just have to, you make sure that you have a protein source, and all the legumes have protein, right? The
Yeah.
black beans, the red beans, the chickpeas, the lentils, right?
Yeah.
Dals, shole, all this stuff has a lot of protein.
Yeah.
The other thing is you're only going to absorb 25 to 30 grams of that in one go,
Okay. Interesting.
right? So
Okay.
you could slap 100 grams of protein on your plate, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it takes 4 to 5 hours, right?
Okay.
Um, but the thing is, this protein is i- is in my eyes a clean protein that does not cause any inflammation in the body because when you eat plant-based protein, you're getting fiber. So
Okay.
when you eat wild rice or quinoa, you're getting fiber with that, right?
Okay.
Or when you eat legumes or beans, you're getting fiber with that. Fiber lowers cholesterol.
Okay.
Fiber prevents colon cancer,
Yeah.
right? The amount of fiber we used to eat decades ago compared to what most people are eating now, the colon cancer rates are just going up, right? Um,
Okay.
and the other thing is these foods contain antioxidants, which are
Mm.
anti-inflammatory. Okay.
Okay.
These plant-based foods contain pretty much all array of vitamins in them, right? Every color of a plant gives you different phytonutrient and different types of vitamins. You
Yeah.
get water with these plants. Now, I'm not trying to get too philosophical here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but 70% of this planet is water. Okay.
Okay.
70% of your body is water.
Yeah.
And 70% of plants and vegetables and fruits is water.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
very synergistic with life. Okay.
Mm.
And then you don't get any saturated fat with plants and you don't get any
Mm.
cholesterol in the animal. Now, let's flip the side to what's the other source of protein we know about is meat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, meat has a lot of protein, no doubt about it. You want to get big and bulky? Yeah, if you eat a lot of chicken, you'll provide yourself plenty of protein. But that protein has zero fiber,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? That protein has zero water, right? And surprisingly, that protein doesn't have any vitamins. It's got
Mm.
minerals,
Yeah.
doesn't have vitamins. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing is that protein, when it gets digested, the amino acids break down in your bloodstream. They get sucked up by the liver, and your liver ends up making something called, you can look this up, IGF-1.
Okay.
IGF-1. That's insulin-like growth factor 1.
Okay.
IGF-1 causes cancer to grow. It's just that
Yeah.
simple, right? So if
Okay.
you get a heavy meat eater and you measure their IGF-1 levels, compare them to a plant-based eater,
Yeah.
IGF-1 is going to be much lower in a plant-based eater, right?
Okay.
Um, the other thing with when you eat a lot of animal protein is you will end up making a substrate in your bloodstream called TMAO, trimethylamine oxidase. And this is also kind of produced with when you eat foods that are very high in carnitine and choline, which
Okay.
a lot of meat products, right? And TMAO, all it really does is just plugs up your arteries, right? So it takes bad cholesterol, just shoves it into your arterial wall. So if you were to,
Okay.
take, the measure TMAO levels of a high animal protein eater and compare them to the TMAO levels of a plant-based eater, you'll see a huge difference in that, right? Um,
Wow.
so I could go on and on about this, but
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, because I'm a physician, because I see disease every day,
Yeah.
also see the power of a whole food plant-based diet
That's
in
what. Yeah.
getting my patients to take control of their health
Yeah.
and literally just reversing their disease with it.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I was gonna just so like lot of people listening and obviously they know like I eat meat and like a lot of my clients they may eat meat and then some people are obviously vegetarian. Listeners who are like especially like in the bodybuilding world or trying to get jacked world, protein, and meat protein is like the highest thing, right? So when someone listens to it, it's like okay, don't get overwhelmed by all because like there's so much information online, right? And like
Yeah.
this is where people get confused and they're like, I don't know what to do. Like this person said this person said this but I think you made a really good point right before this. You see the diseases so clearly every single day
Yeah.
that you know the power, right? Longevity wise and the reversibility of the whole food plant based
Yeah.
diet. That's why you have all these, because like everything you backed up with studies, right? It's not
Listen,
like, yeah,
I have no agenda here. Like I'm
I
not
know. That's what I mean. Yeah.
like vegan or whatever you want to call. First of all, there's a difference between a vegan and a whole food plant-based eater.
Okay.
Vegans still allowed cupcakes and processed sugar. All right.
That is true.
They're allowed cookies, Skittles, and they're allowed
Yeah,
all that. Okay, a
yeah,
whole
yeah.
plant-based eater only eats whole foods. All right, so there's a
Okay,
difference.
there's a
Okay,
difference. Yeah,
but no, I get it. My agenda is disease reversal and longevity,
that's what
right?
I was gonna say.
It all depends on what your goals are, right? Like obviously you're trying to get into a, you want to just be totally jacked, you want to be a, going for a competition or something like that, then
Yeah,
you might need to eat meat to get there, right? But it doesn't
100%.
mean your arteries inside are fine, right?
That's yeah, 100%. Yeah,
That's a
and
whole
this
different,
that's a
yeah.
whole different. Yeah, and this is a question for you. Tofu wise, tofu gets sometimes bad rep online about
Yeah.
people thinking it's gonna up your estrogen levels, but like
Yeah,
guys are
so
like, yeah,
those are little flimsy, little tiny phytoestrogens, okay? They're
phytoestrogen.
not the
Okay,
real estrogen you're getting with dairy, okay?
okay,
When you drink a glass of milk, you're getting 25 hormones. These are coming from a pregnant cow, okay?
yeah,
It's just trying to make its calf turn into a one-ton creature in a matter of 8 months, okay?
mm-hmm.
Very powerful growth hormone. It has growth hormone in it, estrogen. These are real mammalian estrogens, okay? And
Okay,
we have evidence that, we have higher rates of prostate cancer in men with higher dairy drinking, higher rates of hormonally sensitive cancers in women, such as breast cancer, endometrial cancer, ovarian cancer, and high dairy drinking. Okay, you're
yeah,
drinking hormones when you're drinking actual hormones, and so if you're worried about the estrogen coming from tofu and you're drinking milk, it's like peeing in the ocean. Okay, when you
that's a
pee in the
good
ocean,
analogy.
nothing happens, right?
Nothing
So,
happens. Yeah,
but it's overdone. It's
okay,
overdone, right? Yeah.
yeah. No, people because like obviously a lot of guys do ask me, hey, vegetarian protein sources because they're vegetarian, and tofu seems to be one of the ones I recommend. And
And
obviously, yeah,
supplement with a plant-based protein, supplement with pea protein, right? You could do a
awesome.
protein bar. Yeah, they're processed. I get it. But
Yeah,
I'd rather you supplement on, Vega, Vega
yeah,
Sport, or, pea protein, or what else. Just do whey isolate. I don't know. But it's still better than, gobbling down red meat, right? Like to me, it's like,
yeah,
okay, World Health Organization 2015, red meat is a carcinogen, right? So,
yeah,
like it's precancerous, right?
yeah.
So it doesn't, you can become, first, just look up plant-based bodybuilders, you'll see plenty of them, right?
100%.
You'll see plenty of them. Like the world's strongest man right now is plant-based.
Really? What's his
Yeah.
name?
What's the guy's name? Hold on,
Uh,
go to Google. What's that guy's name?
let's see.
The world's strongest man. He's plant-based.
World
World's strongest man. Uh,
that
plant.
guy. What's his name?
Yeah, this guy, Patrick Baboumian. Patrick Baboumian. He's the world's strongest man and he's plant-based.
Damn, he has a thick beard too.
The Tennessee Titans?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Look at Tennessee's Titans' whole defensive line became plant-based.
This guy, right? I'm
Right?
looking at the same guy. This guy.
Let's see. Let's check it out. Let's see if he's yeah, this guy right
This,
here.
this guy
There you
right here.
go. Yeah. I,
Jeez, he's
I love the
jacked.
picture. I love the picture with a carrot in his
I
mouth.
know. I see
You
that
know?
right here. Vegan, strongman. This
Yeah.
vegan, he probably doesn't eat cupcakes though. He probably
Yeah.
eats just
Yeah. No, he's not eating cupcakes, that's for sure.
regular.
Nice. That's
Awesome.
crazy. This carrot thing actually reminds me. There's a cardiologist. You could look him up too. I think his name is Dr. Reddy, Reddi. He's an Indian interventional cardiologist. So
Okay.
he spends his whole life putting in stents in people's arteries when they're blocked up. Okay.
Okay.
And he's like, what am I doing here? Right? When a plant-based diet prevents this from happening,
Yeah.
like why are we trying to get a mechanical solution for a metabolic problem? Heart
Mm,
disease is a metabolic problem. Like, what, just because you put a stent in, like, and then he became plant-based. He looked at the literature, and his famous saying is, um, a carrot or a stent, your choice.
crazy. Dr. Reddy. Okay.
Dr. Reddy. Yeah.
No,
Carrot
this is
or a stent.
carried to the stent. That should be that's a hook by
Choose,
itself. Yeah. No,
right?
that's awesome. So this is a thing, right? So a lot of people listen, people are like, okay, cool, plant-based diet. I'm okay, I'm fine right now, right? Is there certain things you recommend, say, for the younger people who don't have any diseases, right? And they're not maybe doing a full plant-based whole food diet. Certain things, I know you mentioned processed foods, but like, is there any like three, four things you would say definitely in their diet start to look out for, start to like lower just for overall health, even if their goal is like, yes, long-term longevity, but in the moment it's just muscle building and just feeling more energized. Because the biggest like issues, I guess, like if my audience or like the younger people, like they have cravings at night, or like they don't get good sleep because maybe of their nutrition, or they don't have energy levels of like a 20-year-old guy that should have a good amount of
Yeah.
energy, or even 30-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
So those things, there's something, say like they don't want to completely switch to the plant-based whole food diet, right? In their
Yeah.
current diet, can they start making certain changes that you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, it should be a balanced diet, right?
Okay.
You need to have, fruits every day. You need to have vegetables every day, whole grains, a handful of nuts and seeds every day, right? And um, also, just get your blood work done. Just make sure you're
Yeah.
not deficient in anything, right? Just get some, go to your GP and get your thyroid checked, get your vitamin D levels checked, your vitamin B12 levels checked, right?
Okay.
Before I even start anyone on a lifestyle program, I have to make sure they're biochemically normal first, right? If they're
Mm,
walking around with iron deficiency or B12 deficiency, there's no way they're going to sleep right. There's no way
mm,
they're going to have enough, energy to go to the gym or whatever, right? So the first step is just get blood work done to make sure there's no abnormalities, right? So
okay.
thyroid is okay, is your vitamin D okay, B12, your iron levels, right? You're not anemic, right? Like we get a lot of iron deficient women. We do iron transfusions in the clinic. And it's like, there's no way I'm going to get you to sleep 7 to 9 hours because you're iron deficient. When you're iron deficient, you get restless legs, you get poor sleep, your mood is off, your cravings are off. There's no way you're going to eat a healthy diet or exercise or have the motivation to do any of that, right? So
Yeah.
you got to get your iron levels up first. You got to get right. So first, make sure you're biochemically normal, right? Then, obviously whole food plant-based diet being the healthiest, supplement wise, there's three major supplements: omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and some magnesium before you go to sleep at night. After that, a whole food plant-based diet will cover everything else, right? And yes, getting rid of processed foods, right? So
Okay.
when I say whole food, I say you look at your plate, you ask yourself a question. Was this food here 1,000 years ago?
Okay.
Okay. And if it
Yeah.
does, if it wasn't here 1,000 years ago, that's not a whole food. A
Yeah.
company done something to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, the food industry, look, in they're allowed 20,000 chemicals in the
Are you
food.
serious? That is
20,000. Okay.
jeez.
And it's actually innocent until proven guilty. So these food companies do not have to prove to anyone that the chemicals are safe before they
Crazy.
put them in. Now, in Europe, it's different. In Europe, only 400 chemicals are allowed. And there
Mm,
it's guilty until proven innocent. The food company has to prove to the government that this chemical is safe in the food. Okay. So when you're eating processed food, oh, this is a rabbit hole. Don't let me go down this rabbit hole.
no, no. You,
But when
so,
you're
but before we go into some processed foods, I think your definition is if it's part of you, like the plate you're eating, if it wasn't there 1,000 years ago, likelihood it's processed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like
Okay.
you ask yourself a question, like I'm gonna eat
Yeah.
pistachios. What pistachios around that? Yeah, a coconut, yeah, a banana, yeah, an orange, yeah, wild rice, brown rice, not white rice, because
Yeah.
white rice is processed, right? They take the outer coating off of it, right?
Interesting.
So I,
Okay.
so I tell my patients, hey, you can chew on an apple or you can eat applesauce. One's
Mm.
whole, one's processed, right? You can make corn on the cob at home or you can eat corn
Okay.
tortilla chips.
The orange juice is processed, right?
Yeah, you're taking
I know this is someone's gonna ask me that. That's the only reason
it
I
is
asked.
processed.
Yeah.
Like we didn't juice things 1,000 years ago.
That's it.
We
100%.
we ate the
Yeah.
orange, and the structure of the orange prevented the rapid absorption of sugar into your bloodstream.
Mm.
Where now, if you juice it, it's just you're drinking fructose, and fructose causes fatty liver, it causes uric acid levels to go up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So all lifestyle medicine really is taking us back 1,000 years and doing what our body was designed to do. When did we go to sleep 1,000 years ago? When the sun went down, we went to sleep.
Yeah.
And then when the sun went up, we saw the sunlight in the morning.
Yeah.
Boom, we're up. Cortisol levels bump. You're up. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Go to sleep at 1 a.m. watching TV or no, right? So if you, and so it just
All
happens.
day there. Yeah.
There you go, right on front, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
but now the medical literature shows that if you're breaking that 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. window, you're going to cause disease to yourself.
Mm.
Right? It's common sense. And now the literature also shows that you should be getting morning light in.
Yeah.
We used to wake up with the sun, right? And the morning light is so important for your mood throughout the day and to help you go to sleep at night. So some people have difficulty sleeping. I will make sure that they're getting 20 minutes of morning light in the morning, right? But
Mm.
this is all stuff that we were designed to do. we didn't eat processed foods 1,000 years ago. We roamed around, we ate coconuts. When we became smart enough to farm, we grew potatoes, we grew corn, we ate that. We weren't, we're called hunter-gatherers, but we majority of what we did was gathering. We
Yeah.
got nuts, seeds, we ate whole food, plant-based. We actually didn't start eating meat until we moved to desert lands where there
Mm,
was no plantation, right? So we're
interesting.
just going back to that. That's all that we walked all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we never sat in a chair the way our 21st century economy makes us do now.
Yeah.
Sitting in a chair for 8 hours a day, that's inhumane. Like that's like you have the same risk factor of heart attack by sitting in a chair for 8 hours a day as someone who's smoking.
Wow.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So we used to walk all the time, right?
Yeah.
So what do we do in lifestyle medicine? We tell people to walk a lot. We tell them to
Yeah.
get a standing desk at work, right?
Yeah.
And to be up and about. I say never sit for more than 30 minutes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So this is very basic things. We never used to drink alcohol. We never used to smoke,
Yeah.
right? And we lived in social circles, right?
Yeah.
Like other species like elephants, dolphins, you break up their family, they get depressed, it affects their health.
Yeah.
Similar to human beings, when human beings feel emotional isolation,
Yeah.
their all-cause death goes up 3 to 10 fold, all-cause death, if they're lonely,
Damn. This, I
right?
think you were mentioning the blue zones, right?
Yeah.
Uh, the blue zones is where one of the biggest pillars is this like community.
So yeah, this is kind of blue zone medicine. So blue zones are areas in the world where where people are the individuals there are living into their ninth, 10th decade of life without disease. Okay, so they're
Okay.
not suffering from dementia, and cancer and heart attack and stroke, and their health span is that long, right? And
Yeah.
so scientists have been visiting these areas, like, what the hell are these people doing? How,
Yeah.
everyone over here is dying of heart attack, stroke, and obesity and diabetes, and these
Yeah.
people are just living 105 years old, and they're just like, and they're also in different areas in the world, right? So it's Okinawa, Japan,
Yeah.
Sardinia, Italy, Icaria, Greece, the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica.
Okay.
Um, and yes, we have one here in North America, Loma Linda, California. Okay, that's
Wow.
so you look at Loma Linda,
Yeah.
and I know this because I grew up in California.
Yeah.
Loma Linda's right here, San Bernardino County is right here. They're only 5 minutes away from each other. It's one highway.
Yeah.
The average lifespan difference is 10 years. People in San Bernardino County die 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
People in Loma Linda, they live 10 years longer. And the amount of chronic disease you see in San Bernardino way outweighs any chronic disease you see in Loma Linda. And what are they doing in Loma Linda? They're doing the 6 pillars. The Loma Linda has the Adventist Christian population, and it's
Okay.
their religion not to eat meat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they also I think they take Fridays off. So they just for themselves, like they're chilling, right? So
That's awesome.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're
Yeah.
just, oh, we're not going to work. We're just going to, they
Yeah.
exercise, they have access to fresh vegetables and fruit and things
Yeah.
like that, right? Singapore is now becoming a blue zone the last 20 years. So these are populations with different culture,
Yeah.
different food, different language, but they're all hitting 100 and they don't have chronic disease, but they're doing the commonalities between all of these blue zones is 6 things.
Yeah.
They all eat 95% of their diet is whole food,
Whole
plant-based.
foods.
They
Okay.
might have a little seafood, fish here and there, right?
Yeah.
In once a week's not going to kill you, right?
Yeah.
Um, Secondly, they're sleeping right, thirdly, they're exercising, they're up and about. You go to Sardinia, Italy, it's on a
Yeah.
hill, right? Just to go grocery shopping, you got to go climb a hill every single day. Just
Yeah.
see your neighbor, you're going up and down this hill, right? You go
Yeah.
to Okinawa, Japan, the average Okinawan is gardening for 25 minutes a day. They don't even sit in chairs in Okinawa. They sit
Wow.
in lotus position on the ground, which forces them to do 20 squats a day just to stand up. So
Really?
the lower extremity muscles are right. Your leg
Okay.
muscles are the most important muscles when it comes to
Yeah.
health,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, right. So these are the common characteristics. They're not smoking, they're not drinking. They get together 2, 3 times a week, play board games or whatever. There's very good psychosocial support in the communities in Okinawa, in the villages. Like if a family is struggling financially, even if they're not related, someone from the village will come out and help them out, right? So
Yeah.
there's good psychosocial support, right? You go to Sardinia, Italy, you take care of your neighbor. If a neighbor doesn't have any kids and they're 90, 95 years old, someone will take them in and take care of them. They won't put them in a
Wow.
nursing home. You go
Yeah.
to a nursing home, your lifespan's done, right?
Done. Yeah.
So These are the six pillars.
This is so like so this is why you're on the podcast. Because I would tell the guy who listened to me, I was like, yo, bro, like I'm telling you, like you don't need to go more to the gym, right? 4 days is more than enough. You gotta sleep more, man. You
Ye-
gotta improve your diet. You gotta
Yes.
like start just like moving more throughout the day rather than those 3 hours in the gym at nighttime.
I'll
Move
tell you
more.
why. So
Yeah,
let me give your friend, your client, this the biologic explanation for that.
yeah,
So when you're disturbing your sleep, okay,
yeah.
especially for first of all, at 9:30 p.m., your brain is secreting something called melatonin. We hear about that, right? Melatonin. You take melatonin pills and stuff, right? But naturally, your brain is making melatonin. Okay.
Sure.
If any light hits your eyes
Yeah.
at 9:30 p.m. or thereafter, whether it's from an iPhone, a laptop, or your room light, your natural melatonin production goes down. You're going to have more difficult time falling asleep, right? Now, if your sleep is interrupted, right, and you're getting up multiple times, or you're just not sleeping, you're sleeping 4 or 5 hours, right? And you'll know because how you feel the next day, right? Your cortisol levels are going to shoot through the roof. Okay. So when you're breaking sleep and when you're in sleep debt, your adrenal glands are secreting a higher level of a hormone called cortisol.
Okay.
Cortisol raises your blood sugars.
Okay.
So, you could get diabetes from not
Okay.
sleeping, from not sleeping,
Wow.
right? Which is
Wow.
why I reverse diabetes in my patients by making them sleep. Okay. So cortisol, well, if you get high blood sugars, now you get a higher insulin spike.
Yeah.
Insulin is a hormone that causes more fat storage in the body. It causes
Mm.
blood pressure to go up. It causes cancer cell growth. It narrows your blood vessels, right? It's a horrible hormone. Okay. And if you're disturbing your sleep, your insulin levels are going to go up because your cortisol levels went up. Okay. Cortisol also stores more visceral fat. There's two types of fat in your body. There's your external fat, not dangerous, not dangerous. It's
Okay.
your internal fat that's dangerous. We call that visceral fat. It's the fat that's lining on top of your pancreas, your liver, around your heart. That's the fat that actually causes disease, right?
Mm.
Higher cortisol levels force more visceral fat production.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So these are your reasons for it.
Crazy, right? So please, bro, listening. This is not just about the lifting muscle. This is all these things going on in the background. That again, I think you made a great point beforehand. It's like it accumulates by the time you're 40, 50. Yes, right now it might not be fully impacting, but that stuff's building right now. Like you said, I
Yeah.
think 15, 16-year-olds plaque starts to get built up, right? So
Yeah.
it's happening, even though people don't feel the effect right now. And like I'm in the culture right now, like we just opened up a little gym and there's two guys that I work with and we're always joking about like I'm the person who like goes to sleep on time and like I understand the importance of sleep and like I need to manage my load in the gym per se. And they always joke around with me. It's like, yo, bro, what do you need to manage your fatigue for, man? Like, just screw sleep for now. Just work longer. But
Yeah.
I understand when I have like that consistent sleep, that same amount of work almost gets done in like half the amount of time.
You will not burn fat if you're not sleeping.
There you go. Yeah,
You won't
that's
lose
it.
weight. Like it's very, very hard. Like I have patients who are diabetics, fatty liver, and
Yeah.
they're trying to eat right, they're exercising, they're doing all the things, but they're just doing night shifts.
Mm,
And their sleep is so off because of the overnight shifts. And it's
mm,
and I see the results in my other patients who are sleeping compared to the ones that are doing the night shift that are disturbing their sleep. My other
yeah.
patient is losing weight really fast,
Yeah.
right? And the
Yeah.
only difference is the sleep,
Yeah.
right? So sleep is medicine. Sleep is very, and I actually once again I'm trying to reverse disease. I actually tell the patients if you have to choose between the two, exercise or sleep, you sleep.
Wow. Okay. Nice. So this is question for you and respect for your time. Do you have like some
Yeah,
time still?
sure,
Yeah, you're
for
good.
sure.
So like someone's gonna make this excuse all the time, like I'm busy. I don't have time for all these. And good thing is you just mentioned if you had to choose between exercise or sleep, you prefer sleep. But the six, seven pillars, right? The six pillars of like social gathering, sleep, nutrition, all those things. Would you put any hierarchy on them based on time, or would you have any tips for someone that say like they would say they're busy and like you actually were a good example of this. You do a lot and you have kids and like there's this things going on, right?
Yeah,
So how do you integrate these things into your life or somebody who's busy, always on the go?
yeah. So I'm gonna be honest with you. Right now, I'm gonna turn 46 in July. I feel healthier right now at 46 than I was in my 20s.
Wow.
And it's because as I'm practicing lifestyle medicine, I'm forced to practice what I preach. So the
Mm.
most beautiful thing about what I'm doing is I'm changing my own health as I'm changing my patient's health because my patient's outcomes are better. The studies show if the physician is practicing what they're preaching, their patient outcomes will be better. So if all day long I'm preaching a whole food plant-based diet, all day long I'm preaching the importance of sleep and I'm looking it up, it's forcing me to introspect into myself. And I have made a lot of changes since 3 years ago. I've given up majority of my overnight really stressful calls in the hospital, right? And I'm starting to focus more and more on the whole food plant based. I've taken a lot of dairy. I'm a Punjabi man. I love my cha in the beginning, right? My cha,
I know.
my
Yeah.
whole milk, right?
Yeah.
Dairy, and I've over the last 2 years I've reduced it considerably, right? To the point where I'm barely even engaging in any of that, right? Um, and now, this year my thing is more on the exercise part. Like I've started resistance training, and more cardio, even taking that 20 minutes out. But like you would always say, it's all about consistency, right? You're not gonna reach all your goals overnight. It's compound interest. You make a
Mm.
6, 7% change in each pillar,
Yeah.
right? The lifestyle, the 6 pillars of lifestyle is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And we should always be doing, introspection into our life and saying, okay, where am I on these 6 pillars, and what change can I make? Even if you make a 7% change, but if
Yeah.
you make a set, like you say, okay, I'm eating red meat five days a week. If you
Yeah.
bring that to 3 days a week, but
Yeah.
then you do that for 6 months, there's a compound interest on that on your health, right?
100%.
So yeah, the diet is well, the easy part for me is I intermittent fast. We touched on this in the beginning, right? So
Yeah.
you fast, it liberates you from food.
Yeah.
You have so
100%.
much more time in the day, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
most of the time I'm doing 9 to 5 clinic, I basically eat one meal a day, right?
Okay.
But once again, I'm not trying to get jacked,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
right?
good.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just trying to make sure my insulin, metabolic disease is what kills people.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the fatty liver, the diabetes, and right. So intermittent fasting is a great way to make sure you're not storing too much visceral fat. You burn fat in your liver. There's a lot of, human beings have been fasting for thousands of years, all
Mm.
cultures, right? The only side effect of fasting is you lose weight, you lose fat. The only reason we have fat is it's extra energy for emergency storage. You look at a bear gets big and fat in the summer, it doesn't eat for 4 months. It doesn't die.
Mm.
As long as it's having its fluids, it's not dying. Why not?
Yeah.
Then it goes into its fat stores for energy, right? So when you intermittent fast, it allows your body, to go into your fat stores for energy. And when you burn more visceral fat, you get healthier. Your blood pressure goes down, your
Yeah.
cholesterol can go down, your fatty liver can get better, right? And these are the
Yeah.
diseases that cause the end complications, right? So I intermittent fast. And when I do eat, I try to eat. I do eat a big meal when I do eat, right? So I'll eat once or twice in a 2, 3 hour window.
Yeah.
So I do that. I'm making sure I'm getting my 7, 8 hours of sleep every night now. Um,
Nice.
and even though I don't have the time to spend an hour in the gym, like if I can do a little bit of resistance training 3 times a week, right, and just big efficient muscle groups, like maybe I'm get your advice on this, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
doing it right or not. But the
Yeah.
leg muscles are the biggest muscle group in the body. You get those in
For sure.
shape, it's going to burn fat everywhere, right? So just
100%.
biggest bang for the buck exercises like squats, lunges,
Yeah.
push-ups, bench pressing. I try to touch
Perfect.
on that, and then I'm starting now to do a little bit of cardio. I do virtual boxing. My patient
Awesome.
patient told me about it. I had a patient with fatty liver,
Yeah.
young guy. South Asians get a lot of fatty liver. It's evolutionarily, they just store fat more internally.
Okay.
And he's only like 30 years old and his liver tests are through the roof, right?
Oh,
So
geez. Okay.
we've been reversing it. His liver ends up getting better. And every time I ask him what he's doing, and I was like, okay, so what are you doing for exercise? He's like, virtual boxing. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing? He goes, I do virtual boxing. I'm like, what is
Yeah.
it? So then he sent me down a rabbit hole and I ordered those MetaQuest goggles, uh,
No way.
right? It was
Okay.
like $300 and I downloaded a game called Creed and
Yeah.
I just do 15, 20 minutes of that. It's so realistic. You're in the boxing,
No
right?
way.
And it's
Okay.
great because it's competition. You got to make exercise and enjoy. You got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's like you're playing a video game and you're going at it,
That
right?
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've started to do a little bit of that. So I'm getting maybe
That's
50
wicked.
minutes of cardio every day.
So
Yeah.
I think this is what I'm taking away from this. It's like you found a way, and especially you being in it so deep with your patients. It's like you're always it's in forefront of how can you improve your own health.
Yeah.
That you found a way to be mindful about how can you integrate these things even when you're busy. And
Yeah.
I think that's what I was trying to get to is like people will say they're busy, but if it's a priority, if it's something you want to make work, you'll find a way of doing it.
Ronan, I'm telling you, man,
Yeah,
your health is your wealth. You can
yeah,
have millions of dollars in the bank, right? But if you're not healthy, what's the point?
that's it.
Right.
Yeah,
No, seriously, what's the point, right? Like the most important things in life, that I found are, your family, your time with your family, those small moments,
yeah,
health. Like, even if for your bhakti and you want to meditate, like if you're not physically healthy, it's hard to meditate, right?
100%.
Actually, in Gurbani and in Guru Granth Sahib, there's many shabads that talk about, do your meditation now while you're healthy. It's going to be more difficult later, right?
Wow. Okay.
So your health is your wealth. Your health is everything, right?
Yeah,
So that extra million or 2 million in your bank doesn't matter if you croak 20 years early, right?
100%.
What's the point if you can't enjoy it, right? So, it's I started really realize I think when you hit your 40s, you start to really realize your mortality, right? Especially when you have kids.
Yeah,
Then your mortality really starts to hit you, and you start to realize that really your health is the most important. Your health gives you those special moments with your family for the important things in life.
yeah,
Traveling, spending time with your family, your spirituality, right? Those are the most, to me, those are the most important things in life more than anything
yeah.
else. And if you're not healthy, you won't be able to engage in any of those.
Yeah. And this is where you were talking about the health span versus lifespan. It's like doing the things, making sure you're actually healthy long time
Yeah,
for the long term instead of just living long, right? So
exactly.
no, honestly, this has been there's so many little notes I've written down, and I think there's a lot of rabbit holes we can dive into one by
For
one.
sure.
But any obviously I want to tell people where they can find you and then the Aroga clinic and how can someone even, get if they need any help or like parents or whatever need any help,
Yeah.
how can they
Yeah.
get enrolled there? But
So yeah, so Aroga, we our physical location is in Brampton.
okay.
Right now we're on near the courthouse on her Ontario,
Okay.
right off her Ontario exit. And we have a family doctor who's a lifestyle medicine family doctor, Dr. Pannu, who if you need a family doctor, feel free to give us a call, right? And we can enroll you and roster you with a lifestyle medicine oriented family doctor who's
Oh,
going to talk to you about diet, exercise, and everything before they prescribe that pill, right?
yeah.
Which no one else is doing, right? It's
Yeah.
all pills, the rest of the healthcare, right? And then you'll get access to other specialists like myself. I
Yeah.
work there. We've hired 3 other internal medicine doctors. We've created a echo chamber where dietitian will speak to you. You have health coaches to really gear in and change your lifestyle, your food, your diet, and reverse your disease.
Yeah.
Um, and it's all OHIP covered, so it's not going to cost a penny for anyone. You just got to
Yeah.
get to the clinic. So in
Yeah.
order to get in, if you need a family doctor, we can enroll you. Otherwise, you just go to our website, aroga.com, and you could just go to the top right corner, the help center, and then you click on Ontario, click on Brampton, and you'll see what our referral form is. You print that thing out, you take it to any healthcare provider. Um,
Yeah.
and if you have any of those chronic diseases like obesity, fatty liver, high cholesterol, PCOS, okay, history of heart attack, stroke, obesity, that's you get your family doctor to just refer you over, and we'll take a look at you.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
got my dad actually has the health coach appointment this Friday too with
good stuff.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So no, honestly, like this is one of the things where like people listening and I told my dad to obviously get referred by his family doctor to you guys. It's like I tell him all these things all the time. When it's from more of a credible source, and then I think the biggest thing I liked when I asked you of like, hey, what are some things people should start diet wise? You're like, first I gotta look at the biochemistry. I gotta look at like the blood test. I gotta
Yeah,
look at if the iron is good. I can't
yeah,
just tell them random stuff because like online, if someone asks somebody for advice, be like, oh, just cut your carbs out, or hey, just do this, right? So like that's one of the things where like, okay, you're gonna take care of them holistically from the 6 pillar side of things, and then
yeah,
see where the person's at and like what knob needs to be moved more, what knob needs
yeah,
to be moved less. And
yeah,
I'm a big obviously promoter, and anyone who has like any family members in these things, I think this is one of the best approaches because I could say things, but when it comes from a source like you and like your whole team, it just makes everything more efficient and for the person way more believable too, right?
No,
So
for sure, for
because people
sure.
don't believe these things, right? Especially like our parents are so stubborn.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had many family members say like I don't know how you got through to my
Yeah,
source, my dad or my mom. They were to they talk to you and part of it's just making a connection. Look, like
yeah,
just making a connection. Look, inherently you as a physician, so what we've done, we've changed the role of the doctor, right? For the longest time, this is a whole separate podcast, right? But for the longest time, we've been trained as physicians to be the dictator. We walk in a room and we simply just tell the patient what to do. But what lifestyle medicine, we've changed with Aroga is the physician's not a dictator. The
yeah,
physician is now going to partner with you and try
mm,
to help you take control of your health,
yeah,
right? So that's the biggest thing, and inherently, you just have to find what makes that person get up in the morning,
yeah,
right? They might not be motivated to make those lifestyle changes in the beginning, but inherently, everyone wants to live a long, healthy life,
yeah,
right? And the great thing about lifestyle medicine is when they start to implement these small changes, they start to feel better. And
yeah.
when they start to feel better, now you got them hooked. Because
That's
my job is to get you addicted to feeling good.
that's
Once I
awesome.
got you addicted to feeling good, you don't need me anymore. You don't need me to motivate you. Like you're going to be motivated on your own. Doc, what do I need
100%.
to do next?
Yeah,
I lost 15 pounds the last 3 months. My sleep is better. My energy is up. I'm more confident. And now you're going to take me all this pill. What else do I need to do?
yeah.
Right. But if
They
I
start asking. Yeah,
Exactly. But if you came in and you got diabetes and said, oh, here is your metformin and here's your, this medication, no explanation, nothing, starts you on 3 pills, see you later.
yeah,
Is that motivational at all? No, that's
yeah,
fear-based medicine. That's basically saying, look, if you don't take this pill, you're going to get a heart attack. Now, how
mm,
long can fear motivate you?
yeah.
Not that long,
Not that long.
which
Yeah.
is why 30% of people who get a prescription don't even fill it.
Wow.
And
Okay.
then out of another 30% of those patients who get a prescription, this is the studies show this, right?
Yeah.
After 1 year of taking the pill, they'll stop taking it, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Right? So, but lifestyle changes make you feel better. And so you're actually more likely to adhere to lifestyle changes than prescription meds.
Wow. Yeah.
And
Makes
the
sense.
other powerful thing about this is when I give someone a prescription, I've only affected that one person. But when I teach someone what to eat, how to sleep, how to move, and I reverse their disease doing that, now that person's going to tell their spouse, and they're gonna make sure their kids are eating the same way. Then they're going to tell their friend who says, "Hey, how'd you lose that weight?" Right? So,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you got to eat whole food, plant-based. This and this. And next thing you know, my one conversation with that one patient affected 15 people indirectly. That is population health. And that's the power of lifestyle medicine, which is why it's the future. Like lifestyle medicine is the solution to our collapsing healthcare system. It really is. And part of my mission has been to spread the word.
Yeah.
I speak to CEOs of hospitals, politicians, and we've teamed up with Aroga's teamed up with TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University School of Medicine,
Amazing.
where we're
Okay.
going to teach their new doctors lifestyle medicine. They're going to rotate through our clinic. And so
Wow.
young, bright doctors that are going to be, for the future will know that you can reverse disease through these 6 pillars.
That's amazing. Honestly, that's pretty much like that's a like the cool guys say the mic drop, right?
I drive.
So that's true. I would say I do have a few like medical student clients wise, and I think this is really beneficial. Yeah, hopefully they listen to it. I'll send it to them. But like they get taught just one way, the medication, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hearing somebody from experience say like, hey, like understand there's another way, and there's some way, because like a lot of people become doctors to make an impact. And like
Yeah.
you just said, it's like your impact goes 15x, right? If that
Yeah.
one person impacts people around them. So if impact is the actual goal for somebody listening, it's
Yeah.
like it's the way, right? So
Yeah.
no, awesome, man. Thank you so much. I don't know if you want to add anything else, but that was
No,
we
you
covered
get
a
you can
lot.
follow me on Instagram. I have a little
Yeah,
Instagram. It's like a page.
yeah,
It's about it is about lifestyle medicine. I talk about
yeah.
a lot of Sikhi, Gurbani related topics. You can follow me there. You can follow Aroga on Instagram and on LinkedIn. But you know, I think most importantly is people just to need to realize lifestyle medicine is here, and
Yeah.
and this is the future, and
Yeah.
it's here. It's the standard. And if someone is giving you a medication without talking to, so there's a meme out there. It's a funny meme, right? So they say if a doctor gives you a medication
Uh-huh.
without asking you about your sleep, your exercise, your food, alcohol, tobacco, then that's not a doctor. That's a drug dealer.
Mm.
That's the mic drop.
You said that. I didn't say that. Okay. Yeah, that's the mic drop. Done. Guys, thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for obviously being here and dropping all the knowledge. I think there'll be many more because I want to dive into each pillar too a
Yeah,
little bit.
let's do it.
I think the nutrition one we covered quite a bit, and then there's other pillars that people make excuses with, but they can have just as much of an impact, right? So, yeah, guys, we'll put the Instagram, everything down here, and expect much more content from Aroga in general, I think, and then Dr. Mangat himself. So,
All right,
thank you so
Ronnie,
much.
you're doing a great job too, man.
Thank
Like
you.
you're playing a key role in people's health. You build muscle. It's so important. We could do a whole podcast on the power of muscle and health. It's a
100%.
whole separate thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, comment below anything you guys liked and then share and keep getting jacked.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So,